Good evening. My name is Paul Kent. Today is May 1st, 2018, and I'm the hearing officer for the City of Tempe. The City of Tempe hearing officer is authorized by Arizona Revised Statute and the City of Tempe Zoning and Development Code. The hearing officer has the duty to carry out the provisions and the intent of the City of Tempe General Plan and the Zoning and Development Code. The hearing officer is granted the authority to conduct public hearings to review and either approve, continue, deny, or approve with conditions any of the following applications. Number 1, use permits. Number 2, variances. Number 3, property abatements. On today's agenda, we have 4 agenda items to be heard, which include a set of minutes, 2 use permit requests, and 3 conditions of approval compliance reviews. As a hearing officer, I have reviewed carefully the City of Tempe Community Development Department report on these items being considered at this meeting, and I will use this report during my deliberations. Additionally, I drove by each of the property sites so that I can understand the as-built conditions in the immediate vicinity. To all the applicants and interested citizens, when your request is called or when you wish to address the hearing officer, please step up to the microphone, appear, and state your name and city of residence. Any person other than the applicant that wishes to speak about a case on today's agenda should complete a white speaker card. They're either in the back or right up here. These cards should be handed to a staff member when you approach the podium to speak. Each citizen is given 3 minutes to speak, and if we have any, we use these lights right over here, the green, yellow, and red. Any person that is aggrieved by a decision of the hearing officer may file an appeal within 14 calendar days after the hearing officer has made a decision. As such, the deadline for appealing any decision rendered today is 3 o'clock on May 15th, 2018. Appeals of the decisions of the hearing officer are either by the Board of Adjustment or the Development Review Commission, whichever body is appropriate to the type of request being appealed. In the case of an abatement, if the property owner fails to file an appeal or fails to bring the property into compliance prior to this date, the code violations addressed at this public hearing will be abated by the city. At this time, I want to introduce our city staff. We have Diane McGuire, Lee Jimenez, and Steve Abrahamson. All right, if we go into our agenda items, the first thing we have is a set of meeting minutes from April 17th. I have reviewed the meeting minutes, and they looked in good order to me. So I approve the meeting minutes. Okay. Our second agenda item is a request for a use permit to allow a tobacco retailer for Three Kings Smoke and Vape located at 710 West Elliott Road, Suite number 106. The applicant is Brad Pretty, and Lee Jimenez is going to introduce the case.
Good evening, Hearing Officer Kent. My name is Lee Jimenez. I'm a senior planner with the Community Development Department in the Planning Division. Three Kings Smoke and Vape is proposing to operate in the El Dorado Crossing restaurant and retail commercial strip, which is located on the north side of West Elliott Road, 3 lots east of South Kyrene Road in the PCC1 Planned Commercial Center Neighborhood District and within the SWOD Southwest Overlay District. The business will sell tobacco products such as e-cigarettes, vape, hookah, and smoking accessories. The hours of operation are proposed from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on Sundays. To date, staff has received 1 email in opposition, which was attached in the staff report. Security plan is not required for the proposed use, and based on the information provided by the applicant, the public input received, and the analysis provided in the staff report, staff supports this request and believes the application meets the required criteria and will conform to the conditions provided in the staff report. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
Okay. I have a simple question. The hours of operation, are those, how are those changed? So once this use permit is granted, can you just change it to midnight, or is it 8 o'clock?
Unless we condition that they are restricted to certain hours of operation, they're open to operate when they please, I believe.
All right, I think that's all I have.
Thank you.
At this time, I would call the applicant up. If you could state your name and city residence.
Hi, I'm Brad Purdy. I live in Gilbert, Arizona.
Okay. Thank you. I think the only comment I had or concern or something like that was the hours of operation. What are your thoughts about? I know you have 9 to 8, but are your neighbors operating in significantly different hours than those at this point?
So we came up with those hours based off of our neighbors. Just about everyone except for one restaurant is closed by 8 p.m. And we don't really foresee any reason to stay open later than that. If it did, I couldn't see it going past 9. But as of now, that is our plan.
Okay. That was it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this case? Seeing none, we'll close the public portion of the meeting. Let's see. Okay. So in order to approve a use permit, there's 5 criteria that we look at, and so for approval, the criteria are that is there going to be any significant increase in vehicular or pedestrian traffic, and based on this being an existing strip center, I'm sure there's a better name for that, but there's other retail uses. It seems like that's not an issue. Is there going to be a nuisance arising from the emission of odor, dust, gas, noise, vibration, smoke, heat, or glare? And I don't see that. Although this is called smoke and vape, I believe that you're not allowed to. There's not going to be smoking inside, and I don't believe that there's any ability to. If anything, it's going to be transitory into the parking lot type of scenario, which could happen from a restaurant. So I don't see an issue there. Does it contribute to the deterioration of the neighborhood or the downgrading of property values, which is in conflict with the goals, objectives, or policies of rehabilitation, redevelopment, or conservation as set forth in the city's adopted plans or general plan? That's really long, but I don't see that in this case. I think that it's a use that is consistent, in strip centers and in the area there. I don't see that. Is it compatibility with the existing surrounding structures and uses? I would say that it's a retail use, and that's what's surrounding it. So I don't see an issue there. Number 5 is adequate control of disruptive behavior, both inside and outside of the premises. The store is not going to be a lounge, and so I think just like any other retail store, they have an unruly customer, they're going to call the police. Is my understanding there. So based on the fact that I think they meet all the criteria for the use permit, I would grant the use permit for 3 King Smoke and Vape, subject to the for the conditions of approval. Yes. So let me restate that. I would approve the use permit for 3 King Smoke and Vape, subject to all the conditions of approval as set forth in the staff report. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Agenda item number 3 is a request for a use permit to allow an employment agency for on-target staffing located at 715 West Baseline Road, suite number 4. The applicant is Victoria Sapis. introduce the case to us.
Good evening, Hearing Officer Kent. Once again, Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner. On Target Staffing is proposing to operate an employment agency in the Pepperwood Plaza, which is located on the southeast corner of West Base Lane Road and South Cody Drive in the PCC1 Planned Commercial Center Neighborhood District. The business will operate with 2 recruiters, a staffing assistant, and a manager. On any given day, 10 to 30 people may be scheduled for interviews with recruiters. Candidates apply online or by phone and then are scheduled for an interview by appointment. The proposed hours of operation are from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. during the week. To date, staff has not received any public input, and based on the information provided by the applicant and the analysis provided in the staff report, staff supports this request and believes the application meets the required criteria and will conform to the conditions provided in the staff report. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I could call the applicant up, if you could state your name and city residence.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Safis, and I live in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay. Me about how applicants come to this office. Are they allowed walk
Hearing
up and
Officer
walk
Kent.
in?
Microphone?
Microphone. My microphone's on. Maybe I'm sitting too far over here.
No, thank you.
How's that? Is that better? Sorry. If you could explain how are applicants allowed to just walk in off the street and apply? Do they have to make an appointment? How does that work?
So yes, applicants can come in off the street. Let's say they see us, they can come in. However, at that point, we actually conduct an interview or we schedule them for an upcoming interview. It all depends on what kind of positions we have available, which are all pre-scheduled. So we do not just get someone and say, okay, now you can work. Everything goes through a process, including a drug screening, background check, etc.
So there's never like someone can't come in and say, hey, I'm looking for work, and you go, oh yeah, there's this job over here, and you send them to this job like right then. That doesn't happen.
No, that would be day laborers, and we do not function as a day laborer staffing firm.
All right. That's the only question I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this case? Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting for this case. Let's see here. Again, I don't have any specific comments on the case other than to review the use permit criteria. Again, would there be any significant increase in vehicular traffic or pedestrian traffic? And based on what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, it's in a retail space already, and it doesn't seem like it would create an inordinate amount of additional traffic. Would it create a nuisance from the emission of odor, dust, gas, noise, vibration, smoke, heat, or glare at a level exceeding that of ambient conditions? It's conducted inside, and it's not a business that creates those types of things. So I don't see that as an issue. Does it contribute to the deterioration of the neighborhood or to the downgrading of property values, which is in conflict with the goals, objectives, or policies for rehabilitation, redevelopment, or conservation as set forth in the city's adopted plans or general plan? And I don't see that in this case either. I think that it's a fine use in a strip area that has a lot of other uses in it already. Number 4 is it compatible with existing surrounding structures and uses? And I think it's in an existing building. It's not creating something new, and there are other retail uses, and this business seems to operate as a kind of like a retail operation. Is there adequate control of disruptive behavior, both inside and outside of it? The business has a strict recruiting process, and there isn't any specific, you have to make an appointment, you have an interview, and then you're matched with a role. So I don't think we would see that there. So based on, there's some conditions of approval. Doesn't look like anything unstandard. So what I would say is that I am approving this use permit in addition to including the conditions of approval as written in the report. Okay? All right. Thank you. All right. Number 4, agenda item number 4. So we're going to review compliance with the conditions of approval for an approved use permit to allow a rental storage facility for 2-parcel storage located at 690 West Warner Road. The applicant is Gary Bixler. And again, Lee Jimenez is going to take us through the case.
Good evening. Once again, Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner. 2-Parcel Storage operates a storage facility on Lot 1 of the Desert Drywall Property Improvement Subdivision, which is located on the northwest corner of West Warner Road and east of the Southern Pacific Railroad and the GID General Industrial District, and within the Southwest Overlay District. At the hearing held on December 6, 2016, the hearing officer approved a use permit to allow a rental storage facility for the storage of RVs, boats, automobiles, truck trailers, and cargo containers. Approval condition: the operator is to return to the hearing officer for a review of compliance with assigned conditions of approval after 6 months of operating. Of the assigned conditions, only condition number 1 was non-standard. This condition required the applicant to bring the site into substantial conformance with the site plan, building elevations, and landscape plan from a design review approval back in October 1st, 2003. The scope of work primarily involved the removal of chain link fence on the west property line and replacement with iron picket fencing. This DPR, or design or development review, development plan review, was approved on April 25th, 2017, and passed final planning inspection on May 23rd, 2017. The business began operations on October 1st, 2017. To date, no public input has been received regarding this review. And based on the information provided by the operator and staff's determination that all conditions of approval have been satisfied, staff supports the continuation of the approved use permit. Staff believes the operation conforms to the required criteria and complies with the conditions of approval. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
I don't think I have any questions.
Okay.
All right. Can we call the applicant up? You could state your name and city of residence.
My name's Gary Bixler, and the owner is John Costable, who lives in Tempe.
I don't have any real specific questions. I was wondering if you know what's happening with the Tilted Kilt building in front?
Oh, let me ask, John? This is John Costable. He's the owner.
Tilted Kilt used to be there. They moved down on Warner next to the freeway, and this property is behind that property.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't know what's happening in that building?
No, the front buildings, I don't have any interest in.
Oh, yeah.
any
Right,
of those,
right.
no.
Okay. So thank you. I'm just going through the process.
Yeah, we've done everything we needed to do. They asked to put a picket fence up. We've done that, and we, operational business-wise, we have RVs being parked there in vehicles and fifth wheels at this time, and we try to comply with everything that you folks asked.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak about this case? Seeing none, we'll close the public portion of the meeting. And so I'm not reapproving this case. What I'm doing is just making sure that the conditions of approval have been met and one of those was to get things in compliance with a development plan review. And based on staff review and my driving around, I would say that they are in compliance with the conditions of approval. And so the use permit would go forward. Okay. Thank you. All right. Agenda item number 5, review compliance with the conditions of approval for an approved use permit to allow the manufacturing of wood products for SDB Cabinet Shop located at 1001 South Edward Drive. The applicant is Mike Kubelbeck, and Lee Jimenez is back, and he's going to talk to us about it.
Good evening once again, Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner. SDB Cabinet Shop operates a general contracting office and cabinet fabrication shop in an industrial building located on 2 lots east of the T intersection of South Edward Drive and West 10th Street in the GID General Industrial District and the GIOD General Industrial Overlay District. At the hearing held on February 7th, 2017, the hearing officer approved a use permit to allow the manufacturing of wood products for SDB Cabinet Shop. Approval conditioned that the operator return to the hearing officer for review of compliance with the assigned conditions of approval after 6 months of operating. Of the assigned conditions, only conditions number 5, 6, and 7 were non-standard. Condition number 5 required the replacement of all dead or missing shrubs, trees, ground coverage in all landscape areas. Condition number 6 required the installation of 4 bicycle parking spaces. And condition number 7 required a development plan review for all proposed site and landscape modifications shown on the plans at the time. Since then, a development plan review, including compliance with conditions of approval number 5, 6, and 7, were approved on May 18th, 2017 and passed final inspection. The business began operating on August 17th, 2017. So far to date, no public input has been received by staff regarding this review. And based on the information provided by the operator and staff's determination that all conditions of approval have been satisfied, staff supports the continuation of the approved use permit and believes that the operation conforms to the required criteria and complies with the conditions of approval. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
Don't have any questions. Thank you. I do have a question of staff. If I don't have any questions of the applicant, do I still need to call them up?
No.
All right. I have no questions of the applicant, but if the applicant would like to come up and say something, you're more than able to.
I'm good. I'm here representing STB,
Okay.
so if you're good.
All right. All right. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this case? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of this. And the non-standard conditions of approval, replacing all the dead and missing trees, shrubs, ground coverage, all that stuff. It seemed in good shape when I drove by. Looks better than a lot of other buildings in the area. As far as the bicycle parking, I wasn't specific. You know, I saw the nice barbecue area, which was pretty nice. So pretty happy with what happened there. So I am in support of continuing the use permit, and they have met all the conditions of approval. All right, thank you. Case number, agenda item 6, review compliance with the conditions of approval for an approved use permit allowing a distillery and tasting room bar for Adventurous Stills located at 2125 East 5th Street, suite number 102. The applicant is Kelly Ladig and Lee Jimenez.
Good evening
Once again.
Good evening once again, Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner. Adventurous Stills operates a distillery and tasting room in Suite 102 of the Tempe Trade Center, which is located on East 5th Street between South Rockford Drive and South Price Road in the GID General Industrial District. At the hearing held on June 21st, 2016, the hearing officer approved a use permit to allow a distillery and tasting room for adventurous stills. Approval condition that the operator return to the hearing officer for a review of compliance with the assigned conditions of approval after 6 months of operating. Of the assigned conditions of approval number 8 and 9 are non-standard. Condition number 8 required the applicant to contact Tempe Police Crime Prevention Unit for a security plan, which they have. And condition number 9 required the applicant to install a security vision panel on all rear doors, which they have. The business began operations on January 13th, 2017. To date, no public input has been received regarding this review, and based on the information provided by the operator and staff's determination of all conditions of approval have been satisfied, staff supports the continuation of the approved use permit. Staff believes the operation conforms to the required criteria and complies with the conditions of approval. And I'll be available if you have any questions.
I don't have any questions of you. Thank you. If I could call the applicant up, that would be great.
Good afternoon. So I'm actually Chase Esther, and I'm one of the partners along with Kelly and Jeff Reisinger. And I live in Chandler, Arizona.
Okay, thank you. One of the questions I had was, it said all rear exit doors require a Lexan vision panel. Is a whole door a Lexan vision panel, or is it just a piece of the door that is?
It's a piece of the door. It's kind of like a, I don't know, 1 foot by 1 foot.
Right, okay. I drove by and I saw that and I saw this and I wasn't sure if that was what was supposed to be, but that sounds okay to me. Do you have any other comments or thoughts? No?
We enjoy being there, and thank you. So.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this topic? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the meeting and go over this. So based on the report and driving by, it appears that all the conditions of approval have been met, and I would approve the continuation of the use permit into the future. Okay. I think those are all the cases that we have for today. The next meeting of the hearing officer will be on Tuesday, May 15th. Mr. Abramson, do you have any announcements?
Yes, actually I do. One, I want to state that this is Building Safety Month, National Building Safety Month, and the City of Tempe recognizes that on an annual basis, and planning wants to recognize that as well. And number two, I want to thank you, Mr. Kent, for filling in as our hearing officer over the last 2 meetings. Your service to the city is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And we are adjourned. Thank you.